You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle. Hey everyone, welcome to an afternoon edition of the Chiro Hustle live stream. I have Carolyn Griffin with me over there. She is in sunny Southern California. I am in the Grand Valley of Grand Junction, which is on the western slope of Colorado, which I like to say no one lives. And today's episode is brought to us by Alok Trivedi and the Align Performance Institute. And what he teaches you how to do is up level, build your business better, and to learn how to make a bigger influence and impact on your niche market, which if it's chiropractic, you're going to be doing really well with Alok. All right, Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, you are episode number 37 of the Chiro Hustle podcast, and it's a real honor to have you. We are featuring the woman's voice in chiropractic, so today we get to feature you.
Thank you. That's great. We appreciate that.
And off of camera, you were like, thanks for picking me. And I'm like, I didn't pick you.
I'm like, oh.
I'm like, the people in chiropractic picked you.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
So thank you to everyone out there for helping pick Carolyn to be featured on the Chiro Hustle podcast, which is a lot of fun. So let's dive right into this interview. It was a real honor to get to know you and talk to you about what inspires you. And I first things first is I like to ask everybody to build the baseline is why chiropractic? Why did you pick chiropractic, or did chiropractic pick you?
I picked maybe it's a little bit of both with my story. So I was 17, getting ready to graduate high school, had no idea what I was going to do. My dad at the time worked at Rockwell, which was working on the B-1 bomber. And the parking lots are really huge. Like he literally, when he would park his car, would have to sit on the bumpers of cars to get to the office because he had hurt his back. And his coworker said, you need to go to a chiropractor. And his response was, no way, man, they're quacks. So suffered for a while. And then he ended up finally, because the pain wasn't going away, he said, okay, fine, who's your doc? I need to go. And he started going to the chiropractor, getting better. And here I am, 17, getting ready to graduate high school, like I said. And I'm like, what do you think I should be when I grow up? Because I was clueless. And he's like, you need to be a chiropractor. And that's pretty much how that started. So this past December, I've been in practice for 27 years, or well, 22 years. 22, not 27, 22 years. Yeah. So I'm a 12 prodigy, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, you still look super young and still vibrant because I know you practice the chiropractic lifestyle. And Jason Dean just says, you guys rock, love my culture life, Carolyn Griffin. And that's a lot of it. Is a lot of times we look more healthy because we treat ourselves better on the inside, right?
Yes, and everything is from the inside out, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's the old philosophy of chiropractic, above, down, inside out. And actually, one of your mentors and one of my mentors, Dr. Fred Schofield, ingrained that into me about 10 years ago. And he was the first time I ever heard anybody almost psychopathic scale saying, it comes from above, down, inside out. And I'm like, holy cow, guy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty, he's pretty amazing. I first saw him, I went to LACC. And during that time, you couldn't even say the word subluxation. So I ended up working in this office that saw high volume. We were seeing a lot of people. They trained with Dr. Fred. And the weekend before I was even to start that Monday, they dragged me to this seminar. And I was like, okay, I don't even know you people, but I'll go. And so they take me to the event and I meet Dr. Fred for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, who is this guy? I was scared. I was super shy. I was like sitting down, like, don't look at me, don't see me. But yeah, he saw me, he got in my face, and it was amazing. but I trained with him. So that was like 2 months before I even graduated. My first Dr. Fred seminar, Fred training, was October of 1995. And so that was 2 months later, I graduated from chiropractic school, and I continued to train with him up until like, I don't know, for 13 years or so. And he changed my life. So for me, Dr. Fred is not even just a chiropractic coach. He's like a life coach. For me, he made me a better mom, a better wife. And he really is just an amazing human being. And Susan, we can't forget her. She has all the systems down to make a practice grow. And those systems, I still use a lot of them today. So, I mean, that whole chiropractic training group is amazing. I love them.
Yeah, we're lucky to have the Schofield family and Rhino Coaching, and what they've done for the chiropractic profession. They've just put like a huge stamp of approval on everyone and given everybody the power to succeed. And everybody that they've touched, I know it's definitely given back tenfold to the chiropractic profession. And yeah, Dr. Fred is like going on a roller coaster ride without like having like a restraint. Like it's like full on. It's like, oh, what did I just get myself into? Can I get off now? Nope.
Nope. In fact, not only can you not get off, but he's going to make you stand on his chair and scream in the whole room in front of everyone. I had to do that too. And then if you don't do that, then you might as well just drop and give him 25 push-ups because he's going to make you do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great to have some leadership that actually has been there and done that and still does that. And right. I know that's what Dr. Fred brings to the table. But you mentioned something earlier. He's not, and the idea of life coach, that's become kind of watered down and kind of like sold out over the past like decade, I would say. But when it comes to a guy like Fred, it's not just a life coach. He is like a mentor of life. And having that type of influence onto you, it makes you a better mom, like you said, a better wife, and makes you a better chiropractor.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about being a mama practor and taking care of your kids as you became a chiropractor as well.
Yeah. So for me, I have 2 children. My son is 17. He's going to be 18 years old this year and graduating high school. Did I really just say that out loud? Wow. So I remember when I first opened up my practice. So after I was an associate, I opened up my own practice. And we had bought a home. I opened up my practice, and then I got pregnant, literally all within a 6-month time frame. So that was a lot of stress. And but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I think for me, now that I look back, it enabled me to really just take it on and not really worry about it. I mean, if it's going to be stressful, that's as stressful as it can get, right? So starting a business and everything, and my husband not even really being there because he was working some insane hours, I was literally like a single mom trying to do all of it. Eventually that changed. My husband then gave up he worked for Ernst & Young, which was at the time a Big 5 accounting firm. And so he worked some crazy hours, and we went away on this vacation and decided, you know what, he literally missed my son's entire first year of life because he never saw him. The hours he worked, my son was always asleep whenever he was home. So that Monday, when we got back from our vacation, he gave 2 weeks notice, and he's been my office manager ever since. So we've been doing this thing, chiropractic, together, and we now have 2 offices, which is fantastic, and which just happened like last year. And but 2 offices, 2 children, and my daughter, who's 15 years old, she just turned 15. So I've got a couple of teens in the house. And it wasn't always easy. And I thought, wow, when they get older, it's going to be so much easier. Oh, no, it's a lot more challenging, but it's always rewarding, and I remember saying this to other moms, as my children got older. It's like, I've loved every stage, and I can't imagine having a newborn today, but I loved those stages. And when they were toddlers and when they were, just growing up, all of it. And my son is now on his path of becoming a chiropractor, which is fantastic. And his whole senior project was on chiropractic, which is great. He wrote this amazing, I think last year, maybe he was a junior, he wrote this amazing paper on the choice of vaccinating. And actually, Tristan Schaub, there's your shout out, Tristan. Hopefully, you'll see this. He posted it on Chiro Sushi. And I was super proud because everything that he wrote in it was just freaking right on. And I'm like, this kid's going to be a leader. I mean, I'm just so proud of him. But so anyway, yeah, being a mom with 2 kids working in an office, I brought my children with me. I think if you're going to be a mom, being a chiropractor is one of the best things that you can do because you can pick your own hours. You can do what makes sense for you and your family and your children. And that's what I did. I was able to, juggle it all, bring my children to the office with me, nurse between patients, changing diapers. I mean, it's what we do. So you just kind of keep rolling. And that's how we continue to make this, live the dream.
Well, there's 2 things that you mentioned there. You mentioned, it's always been fun kind of, but I know from a fact that it wasn't always fun because now we're going to mention Chiro Sushi again. I saw you speak at Chiro Sushi last year, the inaugural one. And I saw your story and it really touched me because I know that, a fitness journey isn't always easy. And we're going to go into this path of becoming a bikini competition, I guess model, if you will, but competitor. Okay. So bikini competitor, but going through that process, I know that it wasn't always easy because I saw the before and after pictures.
Right. Yeah, that's not easy. So yeah, I think when you're a mom, the natural instinct is kids come first, and then obviously your husband, and then you've got to put food on the table, so your business. And so what you end up doing is you're putting yourself last, and that's what I did. I think anyone that's a mom can relate to that what we do is we put everyone and everything first, and we're always on the back burner. And then if there's any time, sure, then we'll go ahead and take care of ourselves. Well, I remember always looking forward to being 40 just because, and I know everyone shied away like, oh, I don't want to be 40. That's like old, but I actually look forward to it. Even in my 20s, I'm like, when I'm 40. And I think for me, the reason why is because I was always the youngest everywhere I went. I was very young going through chiropractic school. And when I finally graduated and just everything in life, I was the youngest. So I thought, okay, when I'm 40, I'm going to be older and more mature and blah, blah, blah. And so, but here I am now. When I hit 40, I looked in the mirror and it was like, oh crap, like this is not what I envisioned my 40s was going to be like. I expected it to be much cooler than that. And it wasn't. And so I started going to the gym and working out. And then I kind of became a fanatic about it and had a couple of friends in the gym saying you should do a competition. And I thought they were nuts. There's no way I was going to put on a bikini, and certainly wasn't going to put on a bikini with big lights on a stage, pointing straight at you, and then 10 people down and judging you. There was no way that was going to happen. I was way too shy for that and way modest, and surprisingly. And but I ended up doing that, and it changed my life. Like for me, doing something that was so out of my comfort zone was exactly what I needed to continue to grow. And I think if I hadn't done that, I just wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I don't think the second practice would have happened. I don't think I know my cultured life would not have come about. All of these other things that I've been working on and doing, it's just like, it's opened these doors for more and or whatever I want, right? Like, it's like, what do you want to do? Okay, let's do it. And there's just no more walls or barriers, or there's no more doubt, I think is the best way to say it. There's just no more doubt. It's like, do you want to do it or not do it? And then once you make the decision, you just do it. And I think that's what it did for me, because once I made the decision, yep, I'm going to do this. Doesn't matter if I look good, I'm not looking good, if I'm ready for it or not, here it comes. Here's the date. You got to prep and go. I think once you make the decision to do something, the commitment and follow through is what matters. And I think that's what the bikini competitions did for me on a psychological level,
Mm-hmm. So let's go back a little bit in time. And how long did it take you to come from the point of realization that you didn't feel as healthy as you wanted to look to the point where you actually were like stage ready? How long was that transformation?
Okay. So I was 41 when I did my first competition, a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year to a year and a half is when that ended up happening. I turned 40 and I was 41 and a half when I did my first show.
That's pretty interesting because so many times people go on this like fitness journey or this health journey and they don't realize how long it actually takes and how devoted they have to be to it. What was like kind of a typical week for you? What did it look like?
Back then, to
Mm-hmm.
train for a show, double workout, sometimes triple, eating 5 to 6 times a day. So I was working out probably 10 to 12 hours a week. It was a part-time job. Literally, that was my focus. And but here's the thing: it's just not sustainable. Like, and it messes with you. I was talking to a friend of mine, and who did a show with me, and we say it messes with our head, right? It messes with, if you've ever competed, that doing a bikini comp can really mess with your head because you have a certain idea of, well, that's how I should look all the time, and it's just not realistic. And so what it does is, it kind of puts you in this kind of like tailspin as far as like what's real, what's not real, and what can I maintain and what's actually healthy. And so it can really mess with you. But by doing these competitions, and once I got to the point where, you know what, I now realize it's not sustainable. What is it that's going to actually make me happy? Do I really want to spend my time in the gym all the time? And do I want to eat these many meals? It's not what I used to do. It can really mess up your gut. And it did. It messed me up. And so I had to get healthy. And so I had to stop the competitions. And I did a lot of research on what I can do to actually help heal myself naturally. And that's how my cultured life came about.
Awesome. Well, I think that that's really helpful because there's so many people, even myself. I was doing the same thing to you, except I didn't have a family I was raising, but I was devoting my full time to working. I was devoting my full time to becoming a known a megaphone for the chiropractic profession. And I did 600 screen events. I think I remember telling you this, but I did 600 screen events in 36 months and scheduled in 2,500 people for over 2,500 people for chiropractic. But I wasn't taking care of myself. Right. I was working insane hours. I was always on the road. I was always doing something. I was always keeping myself busy. And, when you're doing that type of work, what do? You treat yourself well by eating what you want, and you start feeding yourself and drinking what you want. And before you know it, your belly is like growing at a astronomical proportion. You're like, you don't even know yourself. So when I was just out at Cal Jam this past one, we shot this little mini documentary about our experiences there. And we came back and I watched it and I'm like, I don't even know who that guy is. I'm like, that guy is so far out of shape. I don't know who he is. I don't know Jim. Yeah, and since then, February 1st, I've been on this fitness journey of myself, going to the gym 5 days a week, hiking on the weekends, and I've actually dropped 21 pounds since the 1st of February. But it's not easy. And there's days where I wake up at 5:45 a.m. and I'm like, screw this, I'm not going today. But what do? Is I push forward and I go because I know I don't want to be that old version of myself. But what is sustainable? Well, I think, when people get onto this fitness journey, that they can make it 5 days a week. They can do 30 minutes to 2 hours of a morning where they can actually devote to themselves and just take care of themselves. And, I've also been doing intermittent fasting to where I don't eat until about noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So my body burns its own fuel in the mornings, which honestly, I don't even want breakfast anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I was never a big breakfast eater anyway. And then when I started competing, it's like, you have to have breakfast. I was like, oh God, like that's really, really hard. And it got to the point where I would push it as long as possible. But I prefer doing it that way too. Intermittent fasting is a lot easier for me.
And, I was always under the other camp. I'm like, I need breakfast. If I don't eat breakfast, you don't want to be around me. Like I have to have that first meal of the day. Otherwise I'm kind of an ass. And now I just get through it and I'm like, yeah, it's lunchtime. Let's eat. Yeah. Yeah. But now I just sustain myself throughout the day. And I've totally like flipped my whole paradigm on top of its head and said, I can do this. Now anybody can do this. Right. So I've actually started influencing multiple people that see what I'm up to. And now they're actually going to the gym. They're actually watching their eating behaviors. And now they're learning from me from a distance because they're like, wow, you look great now. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I've just started this program with Rob and Randy called Happy Healthy Guys. They taught me about intermittent fasting. They taught me about eating properly and all these things, and eating more vegetables and not going for pizza 3 days a week and things like that, and going for a burrito and pizza. I mean, eventually, if you eat burritos and pizza, you'll look like one.
Sorry.
So let's switch gears and let's talk about your this cultured life, and what is it and how did that help you heal yourself?
So my cultured life is okay. So years ago, I was learning about raw foods and how it can benefit your body, and this word kefir came up, and I heard it. I kind of wondered what is it, but I never really explored, and it just kind of sat. And then I did competitions, and then I knew that, I was eating a different diet than I was used to. I was working out crazy, and I knew I had to do something different to balance my body physically, emotionally, and all of that. And so a friend of mine and a patient came into the office the other day, and she goes, guess what? I'm making kombucha and kefir. And I was like, kefir? There's that word again. I'm like, what is it? And so she introduced me to this, and I started making it, and I took that, of course, to the next level, and I became a certified fermentationist. And so I do a lot of this. I make a lot of fermented foods, cultured foods, and drinks and beverages. And so I was reintroduced to it. And it's almost like, for me, I feel like I just kind of came full circle from taking my early learnings and my recent experiences as a bikini competitor and merging them together and creating my cultured life. And to me, that's what it is. So I'm introducing everyone in my world, or whoever wants to learn about it, the wonderful world of fermentation. And so that's kind of the idea, and how you can use fermented foods to help heal a lot of digestive and gut health issues, which a lot of people have. There are so many people that have irritable bowel, lactose intolerance. I mean, just millions of people actually have that issue. And there's one simple thing that they can do to actually help themselves to, instead of having to, drink Lactaid or completely avoid their favorite ice cream. I mean, there's certain things that you can do. So anyway, that's the world I'm going in. And it's been wonderful for me because it's been able to help me just feel healthier, have more balance, and eat a lot of the healthier foods that I want. It's a great way to get probiotics into your diet, as opposed to in a supplement form, which is, the effectiveness, you have to kind of wonder, like, how effective are the supplements that are on the shelf? And even if it's refrigerated, has anyone really looked into it? So fermented foods are a wonderful way to get your dietary probiotic, your daily dose, I should say, of probiotics, which is going to help your gut health issues. So good.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that is really interesting. When I talked to you, and I was like, yeah, I eat pickles. And you're like, don't get the ones that are cooked, get the ones that are raw, that get like canned or whatever it was. And
not canned.
So I mean, I think so many of us have a misconception, or we're misidentified. It's the same way that the common culture is misidentified with what health is. They think that health comes out of one of those things in the bathroom with the mirror on it.
Yeah, exactly.
They think that that's health, and chiropractic's like, whoa, what's that? That stuff, I only need that when I get hurt. And right. People don't understand that either. So how can we help demystify some of these concepts of what cultured food is and what fermentation is and how that can actually benefit people?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people think when it comes to fermented foods is, they don't want to get sick. They don't want to make their family sick. It's like, raw food that's kind of in your cabinet or on your countertop. It's like, how am I not going to have a lot of mold? Like, what's that science experiment? Which it is. It's kind of cool, actually. But one of the things that people when it comes to canning, that's like when you take, like, say pickles, like for example, and then you jar it and then you stick it in this hot water and it cooks it, and it basically you can last for years on a shelf. Well, one of the bacteria, botulism, can actually survive high heat. And so that's one of the things that people think they're going to get when they have fermented foods. But what they don't realize is because fermented foods are more of an acid kind of solution, the brine is actually, it creates such an acid solution. Botulism can't survive in that. So it's actually much safer than canned or, canned foods. So it's actually much safer. There's a ton of probiotics and good bacteria that are on your side. Research shows that we're now more bacteria than we are human. There's like 10 trillion bacteria in our digestive system. We're like 3 pounds of bacteria that's actually in our gut. And they're also realizing that they also have their own DNA. And so it's like there's a lot to be said about how you can help yourself become healthier just by changing your gut biome.
Amazing. And something I've heard over the past like 5 years is that the nervous system actually lives in the gut.
Your immune system actually
immune system. Okay. Yeah. The immune system.
Your immune system is actually in your gut. And 90% of disease stems from the colon. So by cleaning it out and making sure that you're eating the foods that are going to be healthy and actually feed these probiotics, like you should be looking at prebiotics. Those are a lot of the things that can help you actually become healthier. And the research is actually showing that dementia, which is super high in the United States, can actually be helped by changing your gut biome.
Yeah, and like before we started, I told you that my mom worked with Alzheimer's patients for 35 years, and there is like the when people start to lose their mind, it starts down there. It starts in the insides, and it's not just a brain thing. It's a gut thing.
It is a gut thing,
and then
now more and more people are realizing now that most all diseases are stemming from the gut. So if we can help heal that area, a lot of this other stuff that we're dealing with is actually going to help. So if you think about it, like if your gut and all that good bacteria that's in there, anything that you eat, is it going to feed it? Is it going to make it healthier? Is it going to make it sicker? And so it kind of makes you change what you put in your mouth, So you really should think about what you're doing to actually help or hinder that process.
And that's something I learned a few years back is we have full control of what we put in here. And we have full control of what we say out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is a question I didn't prep you for, but are you familiar with what a food desert is?
A food desert?
Yeah.
No.
There's like cities all across our country that don't have healthy food choices. So food deserts are places that have like the big box stores that don't have anything that's healthy for people to eat. Or like there's a donut shop, there's a pizza shop, there's a sub shop, there's a fried chicken shop, and there's no like healthy food choices. That's what they're calling a food desert because there's not real food there.
Yeah.
And people aren't finding healthy choices to eat actual salads and vegetables.
Right. Wow. That's sad that they actually have a name for it and that people don't have access to that kind of stuff. But you know what? I think that's where, I think when it comes to your health, it's a personal responsibility. And I think the more that the more that you're going to make healthier choices. And, you're always going to find a head of cabbage, right? You can find a head of cabbage somewhere. And if you have some salt, that's all you need in order to make sauerkraut, probiotic sauerkraut, that's going to actually be healthier for you instead of buying something that's in one of those boxed stores.
So what would you say? What would you say to somebody that says "ick sauerkraut" or "ick kimchi"?
Yeah, so I'd say let's try something else. And I think it's an acquired taste. Like there's some things that that have a certain taste, and you just have to find what you like. What vegetable do you like? And you can pretty much ferment anything. And that's what I'm finding is I'm just experimenting with a lot of different things and just like, okay, can I ferment that? Can I ferment that? And so what I love about it is you're taking like this food that has a lot of, healthy benefits already. So for example, let's just stick with cabbage, I guess. There's a lot of a lot of vitamins in that. And if you add some salt and then you ferment it. Now, all those vitamins, you're going to actually, it creates more vitamins, probiotics, a lot of enzymes. It's raw. And it actually, because it's fermented, it's pre-digested. It's actually going to go through your system a lot easier. And it's going to actually feed a lot more of that good bacteria. It's going to push out a lot of the bad, and your body's just going to start to heal. So I guess just figure out what you like vegetable wise, and you can ferment that. One of the things that I like, here's another one. If you don't want to eat it, you can drink it. Like, if you don't like to eat it, then just drink your probiotic. But kombucha is amazing. Kefir's amazingly healthy for you. But I just learned about something. I went to a fermentation festival a few weeks ago, and I found this other drink that's just freaking amazing. It's called Shrubs, and it's going to be on my website. And what it is, it's like a drinking vinegar, and which sounds really gross, but it's actually what they used to use in the 1800s for cocktails. Like, people used to actually take, it's a way for the American colonists back in the day, 1800s, when they came to the United States, the way they used to actually preserve fruit. And then what they would do is they preserve this fruit so they can have it year round. Well, when you turn this fruit, you mix a fruit with an herb, so like oranges and rosemary, and then you add in a sugar like raw honey, and then you add in apple cider vinegar. So just literally those 4 ingredients. What you do is you let that sit and ferment for a couple of days, and then you've got a syrupy kind of shrub. And what you do is you can put just a little bit in a glass, and you can add sparkling water like Perrier. And then you've got an amazing drink that's a fermented beverage that can take the place of soda. So if you have children, you don't want them to drink soda pop, that's another wonderful way to do it. But the way they used to make it, if you're really hip hop and cool and you live in LA, they actually have them in a lot of bars. You add a little vodka to that too, and you've got yourself an awesome drink. So just another beverage that is fun. So if you don't like sauerkraut, there's no excuse. You can actually drink your probiotics, and you can, if you really want to have it to be a little fun, maybe not the vodka, but you could if you want.
Yeah, so one of my dear friends, Tara Hogan, says sounds yummy.
It's
and
yummy. It's really good. So many Thanks, Tara.
Her family is amazing. They train with the rhinos as well. Her husband is Michael. I actually met them. They have a 10-year-old now, and I met them before they had a child. So you can see how long I've been running with this like young, amazing group of Tara and Michael Hogan. And now they have three kids, 2 boys and a girl. Amazing chiropractic family. Wow. And Jason Dean, early on, he says, now you need to convince her to sell her product.
Yeah, maybe. I've got some thoughts on that.
But what we were saying earlier, Carolyn, is be a servant, give, and you can't outgive the giver. And if you just keep on giving to more people, the law of reciprocity gives back to you. Yeah. And you get more by giving to people and giving people knowledge and influence than you ever will by making a buck off them. Yep.
Like I mentioned earlier before we went live, like my one friend / patient says, he's a mentor of mine. He basically says, don't sell, serve. And I think a lot of us can learn from that. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at, is I'm just going to give, and let's just share this awesome information, and then we'll figure out where we're going to go from there.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't get a chance to tell you this, but on a rough day, I have a little mantra, and it's go forth and serve, go forth and serve, go forth and serve.
Love it.
And I tell myself to just go out there and serve more and help more people. And that's just it, is when you're having a rough time, if you realize that you're a servant, you get the big idea, and then what happens? All else follows.
Absolutely.
So quoting from the great BJ, once we realize that the big idea is bigger than us, but we can contribute not only to ourselves and love ourselves, but we can contribute and give to more people. And when you start doing that, comes the idea of philanthropy. And it's not only like, giving to charities, but it's like giving your resources of information to people to help them, scale up. and help them to get vertical and to help them like learn how to eat better. Or by me, what am I doing for my workouts? Well, thank you, my assistant Myra. She puts all of my workouts on my schedule Monday through Friday, so I stick to my workouts. I wake up when she tells me to wake up now, and I stick to that because now she's adding value to me.
Absolutely.
So you right, but it's actually helped me, and thank you, Barb Eaton, for introducing me to Myra. But ever since Myra's come into my life, she's just been a huge springboard to see how much I've actually started to crush my goals, to succeed more, and now I get a chance to focus on what I love most. Is this? I get a chance to talk to high-level influencers that have the information that the people need. And what is that? That's the chiropractic story. And when we were off camera starting out, Carolyn, what was it? Just tell the story.
Yeah. People remember stories, not just facts.
And they remember how you make them feel always.
Yep.
And if you have that like innate intelligence inside of you to pull at the heartstrings of humanity, then people always ask you to keep telling your story. So, but if people want to know more about this cultured life, where do they go and how can you help them? My Cultured Life, sorry.
It's that. It's my. It's not. Okay, My Cultured Life. I am literally in the middle of getting all the content to get up onto the website, which I'm hoping to launch within the next 2 to 3 weeks, if all goes well. So myculturedlife.com is what it's going to be, is what it's called. And so, yeah, I'm excited. And follow me on Instagram in the meantime. And My Cultured Life, and they can check out what's brewing in my kitchen. And I am also going to be putting out some more videos, etc. So it's all going to be there. They can find me on Facebook too.
Yeah, and my takeaway for this is maybe do some Facebook Lives of you actually doing this process of making fermented foods and say, hey guys, it's not that hard. Watch how I do it.
Right.
And you can build a really cool following and audience too, I bet. So at this point in the interview, is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience?
No, I think we did good. I think we we covered everything.
Cool. Well, I'm just going to thank once again Alok Trivedi with the Align Performance Institute for sponsoring this episode of the Chiro Hustle live stream. And Carolyn is episode number 37. Go over to chirohustle.com. Make sure you listen to her episode. And if you guys are on iTunes, please like it. Give us a review on iTunes. You know, if you do give us a review on iTunes, that does a lot for our social platforms and gives us more credibility in the marketplace. And just to let you guys know, we are the fastest growing chiropractic podcast on planet Earth right now. So thank you to everybody for supporting us. It's an amazing effort that we put out some type of chiropractic content every day. And that is the Chiro Hustle, and the logo's behind us. So thank you so much, Carolyn. Just keep charging, as Dr. Fred would say, Mo Chichu.
Chichu. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.